South Africa is facing a significant backlog in processing parole applications for prisoners serving life sentences, a problem that has persisted for years. A recent parliamentary briefing has revealed that one of the key reasons for delay in a critical shortage of criminologists with the Department of Correctional Services. It was noted that there is currently only one criminologist employed nationwide, creating major challenges for evaluating parole applications. To discuss the impact of this shortage on the parole system, we are now joined by Professor Nirmala Gopal from the Department of Criminology and Forensic Studies at the University of KwaZulu-Natal. Professor, very good morning to you. Thank you so much for making time for us this morning. Did it come as a surprise to you at all when this revelation was made in Parliament?
Yes, most certainly a surprise. I was not expecting to have one criminologist serving nationally. I mean, that's really quite absurd.
Yeah, and the thing about it is also, Prof, how many criminologists do you need within a correctional service of the nature of South Africa, considering also that we're also dealing with overcrowding, and then you also have the delays in parole applications?
So I'm just thinking, I think, I won't be able to give you an exact number at this point in time because I'm not sure about the number of parole applications. But I think given the number of graduates, criminology graduates that we have in the country, at least 10% of them should be employed by the Department of Correctional Services to assist with such issues as parole applications.
Okay, then let's do this. What's the role of a criminologist when it comes to a parole application? There's a reference that's made in one of the newspapers about a Van der Westhuizen who was convicted for the murder of his children and was later on released on parole. One of the criminologists that the paper spoke to said that actually, if you look at the evidence that is available, he shouldn't have been granted parole. So what's the role of a criminologist in a parole application?
So I think that would depend on what, the nature of the crime, of course, like the previous criminologist has rightfully pointed out. And also to find out, we'll work together, not just the criminologist, but I think a combination of a criminologist with a psychologist to understand, first of all, the nature of the crime and the ability of the incarcerated or the person who's seeking the parole, their ability to rehabilitate. Because if they are unable to rehabilitate themselves, then it's very unlikely that they could or should be granted parole. So I think there would be a number of factors: the nature of the crime, the ability of the incarcerated person or the offender, but also remember what is very crucial in terms of granting parole is the victim, the role of the victim, and how the victim feels about the offender actually being released back into society.
Yeah, and the other thing about it is also looking at the nature of the violent crimes that we've seen. And if you look at the inspectorate pointing out that we've seen an increase in the number of lifers, 18,641. That's according to the Judicial Inspectorate for Correctional Services. So in the absence of having criminologists that are part of the process, does that rob your institution, as an example, when it comes to knowledge creation? Because a criminologist will be in the thick of things and understanding what is happening.
Oh, most definitely. I think, it robs the institutions that are actually training criminologists in a number of ways. And I think one of the most glaring ways in which it does that is the absence of DCS, or Department of Correctional Services, at the moment, in terms of even participating in the curriculum development at universities. So most definitely it robs us in various ways. And I think what is very critical is for DCS to come together with institutions of higher learning where criminology is offered both at undergraduate as well as postgraduate levels. look at the curriculum that we are currently providing and assist in filling the gaps where we might not have necessarily, we are not necessarily fully fulfilling the needs that they have currently. And I think that's the most fundamental step that we need to embark on.
Yeah. No, you can continue, Prof.
So I think, jointly coming up with a curriculum that fulfills their needs. That's really critical for us.
Yeah. Would that also then help us understand why we're seeing parolees reoffend? Some of the stats that came out from April 2022 to March 2023 is that a total of 2,554 rearrests occurred due to parole violations.
No, absolutely. So we do know, according to South African statistics, that recidivism rates are very high. That means reoffending. And I'm quite skeptical about the rehabilitation programs. And I think, a significant percentage of people who reoffend is because of the ineffectiveness of the rehabilitation programs. And to come back to your question, I think that's where one of the fundamental problems lie. The rehabilitation programs are either not fit for purpose, or the way in which it's being implemented is not fit for purpose.
Prof. Gopal, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. That is Professor Nirmala Gopal, who is from the Department of Criminology and Forensic Services at the University of KwaZulu-Natal.